So today we're looking at F-Scan in-tube pressure mapping system. So a very thin sensor is laid between the orthosis and the foot at that interface. We record 8 steps, and then once we record the 8 steps, we then look at a screenshot that shows us an average of those 8 steps. And it also automatically puts in the peak pressure areas of concern, but we want to look at the base of the fifth, so we can drag that peak pressure box down to the fifth metatarsal and have a good look at what's going on there. We can then move on and look at the gate line curve. You can see here the red is the right foot, not a lot of stability through there, and certainly not a lot of symmetry. Even the left to right is stepping up differently. Peak pressure 256 underneath the fifth, 538 underneath the first. These are far too high for a diabetic. We want 200. Down here, this is the peak pressure over time, so it's showing you how that peak pressure is actually delivered over time, so you can work out whether it was a push or a punch. We've done another recording now. We've produced a new device for the client. We've modified it, recorded, modified based on the recordings what we need to achieve. 8 steps the average of, and we look at the peak pressures again, and we're down to 81 kilopascals, which is fantastic, and we've got 172 for the diastolics. Again, great, we're under 200. If we look now at the gate curve for this, it's very symmetrical. The lines are actually blurred over one another. There's a slight variation here of about 4, maybe 5 kilopascals, and we're finishing up very tidy for cadence left to right. This is a pretty good outcome indeed. So let's have a look now at the comparisons of pre-intervention and post-intervention. You can see the gate curves here. The timeline shows us that the intervention has created a quicker cadence. This is really amazing because when you increase a cadence, you actually usually end up with an increased peak pressure, and we've actually reduced it. So this is a really good outcome for this particular client. Now you can see it here. This is one of the many charts that the system will produce for you, and you can see that there's a variation here of the pre-intervention. You can see there's a 7% difference left to right, or 3.24 steps per minute. That's a significant issue if you're dealing with athletes. That's a limp. You might not actually be able to see that with your eyes. You look at the client, but it is going to be important when you're dealing with those high-end athletes. Of course, this is the outcome that we got after the intervention, 46.51 to 46.44. That is a 0.07 steps per minute difference left to right. That's a pretty good outcome. Again, if we're dealing with an athlete, it's really important that we get that symmetry there, because that's the delivery of power, and that's what it's all about.